Anyways, Brian, welcome to the show. Welcome to Talking Pest Management.
Oh, thanks. Hi, Daniel. Thanks a lot for taking time and having me on the show.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you. Brian, first of all, just to have things correctly, how do we say your last name?
Monaghan. Monaghan. The G is silent, which is quite rare. Brian Monaghan.
So, Brian, before we start about your vision with your company for the next couple of years and talk a bit about macro market development of pest control, who are you? How old are you? Where do you live? What's your background? Tell me a little bit about your life and your background.
Okay, we'll get into it. So my name is Brian Monaghan. So I'm the CEO and co-founder of Pest Pulse. Pest Pulse is a technology-led pest control services company. We service commercial customers in the UK and Ireland. Our proposition is a little different. It's pest control services, high quality pest control services in one aspect, but it's also remote monitoring. So what makes us a little different is that latter one, in that we always lead with a remote monitoring part in the package to our customers, and at the same price they currently pay today. So instead of the way it's kind of happened to date, because of cost factors, with most people selling remote monitoring digital pest control or smart devices at a slightly premium price to maybe the top 5% of the market who are willing to pay it, we'll try to go mass market to all customers in the UK and Ireland. So let's say top 80% with this package. So that's Pest Pulse. That's what makes us a bit different. About me, my background is different to most people you have on the Talking Pest Management podcast. I don't have a deep pest control background. I've probably been in the industry about 3 years. So I wouldn't classify myself as a pest control expert. Surrounded myself with pest control experts. So with different skill sets for different roles. And my background is actually more in the online space in different industries. So I started off in Paddy Power, which is a online gambling group, the largest in the world now. Moved to an international money transfer company where I was CFO, so on the finance side, and I was called Currency Fair. Moved to a technology food delivery company out of the US. So I was running cities in the US. And then moved from there to pest control, and here we are now talking. So that's my background and how we got to here today.
Yeah, that's pretty exciting. How did you go into pest control? What drew you in this sector?
Yeah, it's probably a bit of a leap. It's not a natural next step, but my co-founder is Tim O'Toole. He's a great guy. And his background, he's one of my best friends, and his background is in pest control. His family business is Pest Guard, who are the number 3 pest control company in Ireland. And when my last company was sold, I was looking to set up my own company, and go again. And he was in Google at this time. So he's one of these really strange people who, quite unique. If you draw a Venn diagram, you've Google on one side and pest control knowledge on the other side. He might be the only person in the world who's in the intersection. So he's got that technology background, but he also has pest control. And we started to get together about setting up our own company. We looked at different areas, but we just kept coming back to pest control for differing reasons. And I suppose the main ones being, one which has been talked about a lot on your podcast is the regulation changes. So that, and we don't probably need to go into detail about it because it's been talked about for a long time, but basically the winds are blowing in a direction of banning the proactive use of rodenticides. That completely changes the industry for a number of different reasons. And then second to that, also increasing customer demands and using technology to improve the offering for customers. So between those two aspects, we just kept coming back to, can we put together a proposition and an offering for customers which, utilizes both of those changes and offers the customer something different. It's not that the incumbents were doing a bad job. They weren't, and they aren't. And I wouldn't say a bad word about them. It's just something different. With these changes, big incumbents are probably slower to move, and that's completely natural because they have a cash cow way of doing things, which makes millions of euro each year. So why would they change quickly? They wouldn't. But that leaves opportunity for a new entrant such as ourselves. So we got together and we started to put a team around that. And we set up Pest Pulse about 3 years ago. We took on our first customer about just over two and a bit years ago. And we've been just growing steadily since then.
Pretty impressive. And I think we don't want to go too much into detail, but you've went through I think you've portrayed or offered your company to venture capitalists and investors and angel investors, and somehow also somebody else from the industry joined. I mean, if you don't want to talk about it, it's okay, but can you give us a glimpse of how you financed yourself and grew so quickly?
Yeah. So we were bootstrapped initially, like basically the way 99% of pest control companies operate. Everyone in the industry will probably, recognize how that works. But we felt like we were onto something good. So in early 2019, we looked at external funding and, raising, a significant chunk of change to enhance the product further, and also just to grow faster. Fast growth. We thought we had a good proposition. The customers it was resonating with customers, and we wanted to just jump on that quicker. We got a lot of interest from VCs, which is they liked the novelty of it. They wouldn't see too many pest control pitch decks on their come across their table. So we got a couple of offers, which we were delighted about. But we were also talking to Terminix, the big US pest control company, and they also have lots of money. But they were able to offer access to their huge infrastructure. And if you think back to, we wanted to grow fast. They're a huge company, and they're able to accelerate our growth in a synergistic way. 1 + 1 = 3. So, and just for background on them, that's a $2 billion revenue a year pest control company. It's 12,000 employees. It's an enormous company. It doesn't really massively operate over here in Europe. It is now. It's made a few acquisitions, Terminix has, but it historically predominantly US based, but it has international growth plans, of which it was just exciting for Pest Pulse. So we went with Terminix as our main investor, and it's worked out very, very well. They basically leave us independent, but we can leverage them for support as needed, which we do need. So it's worked out really well so far.
Cool. So the headline will probably be US pest control giant invests into disruptive startup in Europe, right? So that's a pretty interesting story, because if you think about it, and that was the root of my question, obviously it's not that black and white, there's more to it, but you are right that most pest control companies, service companies that is, are bootstrapped, and there's so little people that raise money. I mean, there's been a couple, especially in the IoT or digital segment, there's been a couple who raised a bit of money for IoT product development, which is initially a higher cost involved method of creating a business. But so that's really interesting, because I think, obviously VCs, pitch decks, angel investors, all of that is en vogue, I want to say, and a lot of people do it. If you haven't pitched anything to a VC in your life, so it's really funny that it's now finally found its path into pest control, because we've earlier talked about basically, comparing it to the stock market with tech stocks and then value investing. And tech stocks, obviously, they raise and raise and raise, and we, Uber with billions of debt, but also a billion of valuation. And then you have the Berkshire Hathaway kind of value stocks, etc., that pay dividends and are very, conservative. So it's really interesting that these kind of two fields now in our world also kind of merged a bit, right? Or a bit popped over.
Yeah, absolutely. As you say, there's tech stocks or growth stocks, and then there's value stocks, and pest control for 100 years has been classified as a value stock, and quite a valuable value stock. It's always traded at a pretty high earnings multiple, because of, it's recession resilient. Won't say recession proof, but recession resilient. It grows faster than GDP. It's you can bank on that growth every year.
True.
It's got good revenue to cash flow generation. So it ticks all the boxes of being a value stock.
Absolutely agree.
But it is now getting a multiple and interest that's more like a technology stock in some respects. Like the multiples that Terminix trade on, I think it's about 30x enterprise value to EBITDA. Rollins is more. Rollins probably more like 45x. These are crazy high. Like these are record high. We've never seen multiples so high, and it is because of there's multiple macroeconomic factors. I think the bond market, people are seeing not terrible returns in the bond market, to be honest. So they want to go for lower risk equities. They want to jump into lower risk equities. They're looking around, they see the pest control industry. And they're like, that's a good industry. So that's driving up multiples. But there is also, as you mentioned, the technology aspect, because technology is becoming more and more applicable to pest control. That can improve profit multiples, that can improve growth, that can improve servicing. And that's resulting in more interest from venture capitalists backing startups. That's resulting in higher multiples for the incumbents who are adopting more technology. And that's also proving interest with facility management and other type of, let's call them tangential services companies who are probably looking at pest control more, quite enviously. If you're in waste management, you're not getting the multiples that pest control is getting.
Never. Yeah.
So they're looking at, moving more into pest control too. So yeah, it's an in vogue industry, as you mentioned, that's getting a lot of interest that it probably has never had before. And it's great. It's great for us in the industry, but it's up to us to capitalize on the opportunity. No one's going to just give it to us. We have to still capitalize on that opportunity.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? I mean, it's really an industry. There's probably been a lot of noise and fuzz about tech stocks and tech startups with WhatsApp and Nest sold for billions to the big five. I want to say a Fangman or whoever you want to count into that. Anyway, so a lot of people have been focusing on these, and obviously the valuations have been skyrocketing, and people, I mean, it's not just looking at the businesses themselves and how obviously Facebook, Google, Amazon create value for mankind, I want to say, or have power. But it's also as you said, comparing it to bonds, how to allocate your money as a equity investor or whatever, or as a private investor, like, even so. And people have never looked at pest control. And now that past 10, 15 years, obviously, everybody's been talking about the Facebooks, etc. People are looking for other sorts because there's more money in the system. Obviously, money printing has been quite intense in the couple of last years, and especially since COVID. So people need to find sectors where to put their money. And I think people are looking elsewhere because, you don't want to, just put all your money into a sector or industry that is in an all-time high and, in the news every day, and maybe might change its course in the next couple of years. So pest control is probably forming to be kind of like a secret trade or something, but it's getting more attention, and I think it deserved it, and which is really interesting, obviously, for everybody that works in the industry, because it gets more appreciation. It's critical to the system. We can be more proud about what we do. We're not like, beforehand it was always like, bug catcher, mouse catcher, etc. We really deal with virus and bacteria, and also the valuations for entrepreneurs and people holding stock in companies go up. So good times for pest control, right?
Oh yeah, like absolutely. Well, good and bad times. It is difficult at the moment to service customers and win customers on the ground, but we will get beyond that, and there is probably a new appreciation for the pest control industry in general, what it's able to bring to the global economy. We're still a small part of the global economy, but it is certainly a more appreciated part of the economy. And you see it in the high level numbers. The multiples are at all-time highs, and maybe that continues. But even if it falls back a little bit, it's still at a much higher level than it previously was. Like pest control trades at profit multiples which are far in excess of the S&P 500, and I think that is good for everyone. It shows that, you know, people with money see opportunity, see value, see growth in this industry, which we've probably all talked about for a number of years. I've been talking about it for 3 years. You've been talking about it probably for 15, and people watching have probably been talking about it for 25, 30 years. But it is coming true now, and that, you know, obviously we're talking there macro economy, and really it's the big public pest control companies who are benefiting from that, but that does trickle down. You know, they're trading on high multiples. Cash is cheap, very cheap, even at the corporate bond level. So they're very acquisitive, and that is able to drive up multiples that they will pay. And then for medium and smaller companies, and it's not necessarily, if you're a 2-man van, you're not necessarily going to make 7 figures, well, 8 figures or not, but you might get more than you would have got 5 years ago.
Yeah, and you said, and I find it really interesting. It's really M&A arbitrage, and it's obviously, you know, for everybody in pest control, what does that really mean? Can you explain a little bit about the thoughts that we had initially?
Yeah, I've mentioned that one a couple of times. There's risk involved, so it's not pure arbitrage. But you know, pest control, the big public pest control companies probably trade on about 4x enterprise value to revenue. And Rollins is a little higher, Terminix is a little lower. If Anticimex IPO, they'll certainly be higher. And they're able to buy small pest control companies in the region of 1.5 to 2x. Medium-sized pest control companies at maybe 2.5 to 3x revenue. And if they're able to integrate that properly, there's risk involved in that, but if they're able to integrate that properly and that revenue stays true, that will just turn into, you know, 4x revenue evaluation for their share price. Obviously, there's cost of capital, but as we talked about, cost of capital is really low. It's more than paid for. If you're able to turn a 2x acquisition into a 4x valuation, it's more than paid for. So that has led to a lot of acquisitions in the past couple of years. And you know, who's to know how the bond markets are going to go with interest rates over the next couple of years? But if they stay anyways like they are now, that will probably continue. And that, you know, that's probably great for everyone involved. It probably won't go on indefinitely, but it is probably great for everyone involved at the moment. You know, the big companies are getting their valuations, the small companies are getting paid.
True. Yeah, but I mean, it's probably too early to speak about a consolidation of the market, right? But it truly is somehow consolidated, because I mean, it's not millions of deals going on, and but still, the mid-sized or really measurably large companies are being bought up by Rentokil, Anticimex, and Rollins, especially, I want to say, the top 3 who are very active, especially in North America, but also Europe and Asia. But so what does that mean? I mean, if I looked at the annual reports of Anticimex, Rentokil, the big, like the top 5, Terminix, Rollins, Rentokil, Anticimex, and you know, the top 4 or 5 probably take, like, I don't remember really, to be honest, exactly on the point, but it's like around 20% of market share of all pest control service, roughly. So probably per 2020, it's probably 23, 4, 5-ish. So if we're playing that game a bit further and we're looking at what's happening in the market right now, maybe it's even it's not really to be exaggerated that I don't know, in the next 5 years we're looking at 40 or even 50 if the deal if the deal frequency is going to be kept up that way. So what does it mean for the pest control market, or a market in general, if the top 4, 5, 6 companies own 50% market share?
They will keep acquiring. I don't know whether they'll acquire to be able to get to around the 50% mark, but I suppose they certainly will keep acquiring. Like, the reason is it's going to take there's a long tail. So if the top 5 or 6, if we include Ecolab, or maybe about, as you say, 20 to 25% of the global market, of which they probably are, there's about another 19,995 pest control companies. Like, there's loads of them here in the UK and Ireland. They're not, and they're each individually, they're all tiny. but they do add up to being a large number, and a larger number than the big five. And I don't think the big five are particularly interested in them. It's when those 1, 2, 3, 4-man vans turn into 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20-man vans. That's when they get acquired. And I think those sort of acquisitions will continue to happen. If someone has been slogging away for 10, 15, 20 years, or maybe it's a family business, and they've managed to grow it, and they're making okay money, but they're not making great money, and now a big check is dangled in front of them because they've broken out from being a small company, and Rentokil or Rollins or Anticimex dangles a big check. It's enticing. So I think those acquisitions will continue, and that will certainly help continue with consolidation. So you can definitely see to a world whereby the big companies get to 35, maybe even 40%, especially if they're really aggressive in their global rollout and M&A. It is probably difficult for them to get to 78, like the way Google dominates search engines, or Facebook dominates social in the Western world.
True.
Because there's no network effects. Well, they're weak.
Could be.
But yeah, they will continue to acquire. So as companies do break out from being a small company to a medium-sized company, there will be someone waiting there with an offer.
Agreed. Yeah, but what do you foresee for the next 10 years? Obviously, it's us looking at the glass. What's the English expression? The glass ball. Is that true? Hope that makes sense.
Your crystal black ball or something.
Crystal ball. Okay, thanks. So that's the word. Anyways, so if we're looking at what's coming the next 10 years. When maybe software is going to be more important in pest control, maybe a standard is being formed, like a platform or a documentation platform, maybe driven by the Tesco's or Sainsbury's or McDonald's or Nestle's of the world. Maybe there's going to be some sort of standard established, or in addition, maybe IoT devices and the spread of them and the data that they obviously use and provide is gonna increase obviously capital costs in the company, so making it harder to really enter the IoT software-driven kind of pest control, but also gonna have measurable network effects and also precaution effects based on the AI when it's finally getting towards big data of preventive pest control, etc., or better planning, more effective planning. Then when these effects really trickle down and happen and have an impact on pest control in the next 10 years, which I think there is a good chance of that happening. What might be the effect of that? I mean, is obviously if Rentokil or Anticimex and the big ones, really the top 4 or 5, are going to be the companies probably to play that out best as a thesis. Maybe not. If we look at the market per se right now, it's maybe 1 or 2 of the top 5 companies that are doing it at all. So it is going to be a hard race. So is there really a benefit for that? Only the top 5 are going to benefit from IoT and IT or tech, or mid-sized companies like yourself, etc., are going to be the ones that are going to dominate the next 10 years and make it even harder for the big ones to establish tech-driven pest control?
Yeah, well, it's a great question, because I do think that this upcoming decade is going to be more about smart devices and IoT. It's not a panacea for pest control. It won't never replace technicians. It's another tool in an IPM program, but it's not even the core tool. The core tool is always going to be a technician. But if you talk about where do you generate your data from, you generate your data from technicians on site, customers calling in with sightings and issues. And now here's a third one, an important one, smart devices. So using that data, now you're data rich, using that data to convert that into knowledge and valuable actions, because that's ultimately what's important. There's no point just having data, but valuable actions. I think that is going to be, a big change in the industry. It is happening today. There's every company in that we would talk to, you've had on your show, and that I would talk to, is looking at smart devices. They're seeing the way the inevitable future is progressing, but I think they're only dabbling in it. So I think that it is up for grabs. I don't think that anyone dominates. I think it is going to become more ubiquitous in that, like, most customers in 10 years time will have more technology, a lot more technology on their sites. Whether, even if it's just better reporting, recommendations, advice, but just more technology, and more data. And this is going to be a driving force, but who benefits the most from it? There are network effects, especially at a citywide level or a countrywide level, to having more data, which obviously, like, companies like Rentokil and Anticimex won't be sharing that data with companies like ourselves. So that's definitely a benefit. But they also have challenges too, because they have existing legacy systems, existing legacy ways of doing pest control, which doesn't they're trying to bolt on smart as a tangential value add, as much as it is a core. Now, obviously, they're trying to change away from that, but you can't change too quickly because you don't want to kill the cash cow either. So the different factors, I think that it's open for good debate as to, in 10 years time, who will have made the most of the technology evolution in pest control. With us in Pest Pulse, I think we're well suited and well positioned. We got to start with a blank sheet of paper. We're still obviously tweaking our blueprint every week, but we're not encumbered with legacy systems. So, we're positioning ourselves to make the most of this move towards more technology, customer demands for more technology. But yeah, like, it doesn't guarantee us any more success than someone like than a Rentokil either. Absolutely not. And Rentokil and Ecolab, in fairness to them, they have been the two best so far. They have the most smart devices deployed. I suppose based on their latest reports, they both have, it's about 150,000 devices.
Ecolab.
No, sorry, did I say Ecolab?
Okay, I wasn't. Okay.
Anticimex and Rentokil. I meant to say Anticimex and Rentokil. So that probably wouldn't be they're probably more of a laggard adopter, I suppose.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
But Anticimex and Rentokil have been probably the best of the
probably
the big incumbents so far. But again, it gives them an early start, but it's so early. Like, they have 150,000 devices, smart devices in the market, out of how many bait points
potential
they have. Like, I don't know, it's probably hundreds of millions. So so there's an awful long way to go yet, and I think it will accelerate. Everyone, IoT to date has probably, when we go into it, probably has been a bit slower than people probably thought it would be.
Yes.
For many different reasons, but it's a lot of those hurdles are being overcome. Again, every month is an improvement. It's only improving. So, the adoption is going to speed up. Again, it's not going to happen overnight, though. But,
it's not a B2C driven market that's changed overnight. Yeah, where everybody's downloading an app and changing their social behavior or whatnot. It's definitely a slower process. But there's a lot of people. I mean, you remember the past. Or maybe Tim does, because he's in pest control longer. The past 10 years, every year there's been 2, 3, 4, 5 startups that did IoT products in pest control, and not many of them are around anymore. And many of them, obviously, who thought billions of devices could be digitized with IoT products, have now come to, or have been enlightened that obviously the change is not going to be that quickly, and it's even hard to only sell 1,000 devices because. Per year, because obviously in Anticimex, they do it for themselves. They have their innovation centers and they produce products and drive them into their own legacy customer base. So I totally agree with you. So, speaking about legacy, when we think about the development of Nokia has been, the market's leading phone company, a smartphone phone company, that is a mobile phone company, and It was pretty arrogant and thought its tech were pretty good, and then obviously Steve Jobs, etc., the iPhone 2006. So if we're talking about legacy customers, any of the past 5 years, 6, 7 years at Anticimex or Rentokil, the leaders of digital pest control or IoT pest control, smart pest control, whatsoever, any of the 150 or 200K units they sold and installed, aren't they going to be legacy tech in 2, 3, 4, 5 years? Because the next level of tech is going to be much better, much more intelligent, much more low price, et cetera, et cetera. So is there going to be like a tech solution in pest control where everybody thinks, oh my God, this is the product, and it's further iterations of it, like the iPhone?
Yeah, I think any of the devices that Rentokil or Anticimex would have deployed 3 years ago is largely outdated. In the next year or so. Yep. If I think about the challenges to the adoption of smart devices, you're talking about they need to be simple and easy to use. Mm-hmm. They need to be reliable, and they need to be cost effective.
Yes.
First generation, second generation smart devices were only barely met those benchmarks, and that's the devices now, which obviously yourself in emitter, which direct to cloud solution, very simple and easy to use, better price points, that's always improving, and others, it is changing. So and Rentokil and Anticimex, obviously they don't share information with me, but they're not sitting at home thinking that they have the best, the complete solution that's never going to be better. They have their innovation centers. Rentokil has their power center. Anticimex has their Anticimex innovation center. So they're definitely going to be churning out the next best devices. I think two of the key things that they'll need to probably do is move more towards a direct to cloud solution. I think that everyone will need to do that in the next couple of years. It just helps on all three of those factors I talked about, which is simple, easy to use, reliability, and cost effectiveness. Doesn't, again, solve for all of them, but it just helps. So there'll be a move more towards that, because the capabilities within the IoT world with hardware costs and connectivity is improving every year. So you're able to put onto the market better product, which is what we want here in Pest Pulse. We want, I know you mentioned those 2 or 3 startups a year coming in. We want, and there's lots of them, and we say great, because we'll use them. As I mentioned, our offering to customers, commercial customers, is high quality pest control servicing and also remote monitoring. Obviously never getting away from the high quality pest control servicing, but the remote monitoring is certainly a really good sales tool, and also can add a lot of value to the customer, but also can help technicians on servicing quality time. So the better those devices improve, the better for adoption in general, the more we'll be able to sell them to market, and the more everyone else will be able to sell them to the market, which will speed up this, where we think we're going to get to in 10 years' time.
And I think what's going to be, what's your unfair advantage, if we're going to put it that way, is definitely that you're easier and quicker to adapt these solutions. So if there is a new go-to product in the market, or you develop one, you just take it, integrate it, sell it, and grow quicker with it, or obviously integrate it into your legacy customer base that you already have. So you're quicker to grow with better solutions. So that could be the benefit of, let's say, the long tail, or let's say if there is a graph like that, and obviously the top 5 or 10 have the highest peak, and there's like a mid tail, I want to say, with top 200 companies, and then there's the long tail of the 2-man van bands. So do you think the top 200 companies of Europe, of the world, are going to be able to adapt quicker and be very, very dangerous for the top 5, 10?
Yeah. Not all of them. It's a different skill set. What got them to being where they are with their high quality pest control servicing is more around pest control and operations. If they want to change to adopting more technology and integrating that into central systems and reporting, both internally and to the customer, it's night and day. That's a challenge. It doesn't make it insurmountable. Many of those, say, 200 that you talk about, mid-tier companies, many will just dip their toes. Others will just not bother and say, we're happy with the way we're doing it. And that's actually, why take on something which you don't think you're best suited to do? And then there will be some who will be very successful, and they will really put it up to the incumbents in their industry, in their region. And it's difficult to know who they actually will be, but there will definitely be. I suppose this is the opportunity again. If we talk about this is what the market is valuing, this is what the money people are counting on, that there will be companies in this industry that will be able to grow a lot faster now through the better adoption of technology. The tools are there, but you still have to put it all together.
Great.
So like hopefully Pest Pulse will be one of those. I wouldn't be as arrogant enough to say it definitely will be us, but we're striking to continue to grow very fast organically through a technology-led offering.
So Brian, what's going to be the vision for Pest Pulse for next year, or this year, and for the next 5 to 10 years?
This year, again, like it all comes back to the customer. So, we've an existing customer base and we need to continue to service them very well. We have like minimal churn. It's brilliant. We have next to no churn in the industry, which is great, but we don't rest on our laurels on that. We have customers that really like us, but it's because we deliver high quality pest control. We need to continue to do that. So that's our core. If you're always in a good position, if you can always maintain your customer base, because then everything else is just additional growth. Yeah. And then of course it is though for us additional growth. I mentioned that the industry is growing faster than GDP, but not by much. The industry might be growing about 5 to 6% per year. It's okay, but it's not great. It's not good enough for us to grow 5 to 6% per year. We want to double again in 2021. We want to take on more customers. And again, that's everyone from a convenience store to a large data center to a 200 unit pub group. So, and that's actually much more challenging now in this COVID world. Lockdowns, difficult to do meetings. Companies rightly are thinking about the life and death of their business. They're not thinking about a better way or a different way to do pest control. So growth is definitely more challenging, but that's just another challenge for us to overcome. So it's keeping existing customers happy and growing with new customers. And that's definitely what our focus. To actually achieve that, then it's all about the product offering and delivering upon that product offering, which is what we've kind of talked about up to this point.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting, and I gotta admit, I know your founding team, and you also got Pete Tropman as a director, and so you've kind of have a perfect matching team. So I've been delighted to see what you guys brought to the table the past years. Really, some fresh air to pest control, what it deserves, and wishing you and your team all the best of obviously health, but also of the best in your business, which I'm sure a lot of people should watch this space and follow you guys on LinkedIn and wherever, because I think you guys are really changing a bit of what we do and how we do it. So I got to say, it's been a delightful chat, Brian. Thank you for that.
Oh, well, thanks a lot for taking the time, and hopefully we can chat again soon.
Yeah, I would love to. Because I think there is so many news on your end, more than, let's say, on the corporate likes. I would really enjoy having like at least half year or quarterly discussion, and maybe we can also look at some quarterly results of the companies in the near future. Yeah,
absolutely. I love looking at the industry. So that's more my side of the business, as we talked about our core leadership team. We all, we've got our areas that we particularly focus on. It comes together nice in one path. But yeah, that would be one of the financial and strategy side, be one of the aspects I would look at.
Yeah, perfect. Brian, thank you so much. Stay safe, and greetings to your team.
Thanks a lot, Daniel. Hope to talk again soon.